Hey there guys, real quick, this is the Elder Dadless, co-host of the Dadless podcast. Today, I'm here to tell you a little something about Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me go ahead and explain. First of all, it is free, there's no upfront cost, it doesn't cost anything. It's a great way to get started. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Literally, if you're on the go, if you're at school, if you are hiding in the restroom while you're at work, if you're stalking your ex-girlfriend, you can literally make a podcast from anywhere. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other streaming platforms. Hey, great way to get it out, right? You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That means that your Uncle Randy, who was twice removed, can help you make a buck. Or creepy Father John, who you chose to stop talking to for many reasons, can even help you make a buck. It's that simple. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is anchor.fm. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get back to the show. All right. Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Elder Dadless here. Before we get into the episode, for this installment of the show, I am joined by none other than the Roaming Nomad. Together, we mainly focus on the subject of WandaVision. So far, the series has been great. We're in the thick of the show right now, being that there's only 2 episodes left so far. So we have covered up to the current point that most people are in the show, unless you're a little far behind. So spoilers ahead. I will give you that warning. But we pretty much just gave our opinions of it so far, which are all pretty positive. I mean, we get into a little bit of the sleuthing as far as the ongoing theories that most people have about the show currently. And I mean, hopefully once these last 2 episodes roll out, we can get back together and just touch base on them and cover at least the last 2, because we went pretty in depth about the current episode run. That being said, enjoy the show.
Isn't that a wonderful beginning?
Yeah, it's really good. What is this? Are you trying to trick me?
Wait, just wait.
When's it get good?
What's up there, little homie? About ready to do this?
Yeah, man, I'm ready.
In this world, if you can't swim, you found the dress out. And if you fall, you better pick your punk ass up. That's right. And the rest of y'all,
Wanda, the ready?
don't cut him no slack.
Hey, Freak Joe, you're going nowhere.
1.
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of heat time.
You got no backup here.
I'm calling Veronica. Veronica, give me a hand.
Y'all fools get busy.
3.
It's clobbering time.
Hey there, how's it going? Welcome back to the Dadless podcast. I am the Elder Dadless, one of several that make up just a weird and wacky, eclectic group of guys who talk about cool things. Once again, I am joined by the incomparable vocal stylings of smooth jazz, Vic Dadless. And as of late, WandaVision currently is blowing up and is pretty popular. And I think we would be remiss, if I could say that, if I'm using it correctly, to not throw our 2 cents in the way everybody else has, because it's such a prominent subject right now as far as the world is, as far as the world of comic book movies go anyway. So the basis of WandaVision, we are seeing the events unfold, I guess, in the timeline where we are a few weeks after the events in Endgame.
Yeah, this is very recently after Endgame. I don't know if they've given an exact. I think they said a few weeks, something like that. A few weeks after.
Anyway, but again, we circle back to WandaVision. We're a few weeks after the events that have happened with Endgame. That being, Wanda and Vision are now taking refuge, in a sense, in Westview, New Jersey, which by all accounts is a small community that I think it's made up of like 3,000 some odd people, something like that. It's a fairly small community, but what we're seeing is a period piece in which we start off in the 50s, we move on to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Currently, we're in the 2000s, but we start off with the 50s, and it is a very Leave It to Beaver-esque vibe where Wanda is playing the housewife, and Vision himself being the doting husband. We start with light banter in the first couple scenes, and it seems very nonchalant the way that the vibe is set up at first, because we're not sure how the show itself is going to play out. Throughout the show, there are several Easter eggs that do come up that stick out almost like a sore thumb, just based on what's going on around the events that we're seeing. And so in episode 1, which is entitled Filmed Before a Live Studio Audience, one of the first notable Easter eggs that was pulled up, and a lot of this information is from Collider, but there's also just some side notes that I will throw in that I've kind of strung together myself anyway. But there's a diamond pattern on Vision's tie, which is I guess reminiscent of his actual uniform, like Vision's normal,
Like his comic accurate?
yeah. And so it's supposed to be functioning in the same way that the pattern on his tie is. I mean, that's a really small detail, but or it's supposed to be functioning as the same way that the uniform would be. But I guess that's a really small tie-in. We also have the fact that Vision's working in how do they call it, a computational services office, or when they're asking him what he's doing, what his in the office that he's working in the show. And it's listed as he's serving in a major branch of a corporation, but we're not told what the corporation is or what exactly the details of his services are as far as what they're doing. We do take several trips back to the office, I think between like 2 or 3 episodes in, but we see just little hints of what's going on there. We also have commercials within the show that depict, I guess they're Easter eggs that are notable to the movie series themselves. The first one being the Stark Industry toaster. When I saw this, I took it as, I'm not sure if they mentioned it in the movie, but I know in the comics, they call Vision a toaster. They're like, "Oh, you're a toaster." But
Yeah,
I mean,
I did not know that.
because of the basis of him just being a machine and what he serves the team as. Anyway, that's the way I took it as. But apparently, based on the notes that are here, the toaster bears the signature innovation of this forward-thinking fellow, being Howard Stark. To further hammer home the idea of the Stark product, the toaster actually makes the same sound as Iron Man's suit when he's about to fire a weapon, or when a weapon is enclosing on him. So when they do activate the toaster and they're kind of watching it do its thing, and it starts beeping the little red signal that it has on it, it makes the same noise as what Tony's suit would make. In episode 1, we get the first hint of Wanda's past, where they actually mention that she's from Sokovia. And that's also like a big running theme of the show itself, is that they dig a little deeper into the background of Wanda and Pietro. And they do take several circles back to the fact that she's from Sokovia and things that happen in Sokovia. And it's mentioned quite a bit. It's name dropped quite a bit anyway. And then we also see Deborah Jo Roop, who plays the role as the wife to Vision's office manager, but more notably, if you were a fan of the 70s show, she was Kitty in the show. And so that's always cool because it's almost a mere depiction of how Kitty was in the show. The same way the character that she's playing in WandaVision, as minuscule as it is anyway. That was real cool. We also get the introduction to one of the key players in the show being Agnes, the nosy neighbor, the kind of I don't know that you would say abrasive, but she's very like, oh, this is your house? What's up? Let me in. Hello? Like, let me be in your business. And it's almost a hint at the role that she's going to be playing continually throughout the show because of how she presents herself in a very upfront way as far as the introduction to her character, who, I mean, as of recently, if you're following the show, her actual character, who at one point was one of the big show conspiracies, ends up being revealed. This series makes you think about a lot of the plot and a lot of the themes in the shows. It's very much like a thinking man's show. I mean, not to that extent, nothing that extreme, but it definitely does make, like, it keeps you on your toes the entire show, because as far as being a fan of the product and being a fan of like the source material, being the comics, I did a lot of looking into it myself, and then you go and you fall into, again, rabbit holes as far as like digging really deep into the source material, being like with House of M and the theme of well, as the series goes on, you pull from separate stories where Vision himself ends up having a synthezoid family of his own, in the introduction of characters that are in relation to that storyline, and then you also have the addition of side characters that really do play like a really wide role in the universe, as far as like with the neighbor Agnes, who is later revealed to be Agatha Harkness, who is also a chaos magician herself, or who wields chaos magic anyway, as far as Wanda goes. It really sucked me in, as far as like, I thought it was going to start off really slow. I mean, it is really evenly paced throughout the first episode. Other than, I think it's like within the third act of the show, we're set up with this dinner date that Vision kind of falls into, where they are the new couple in town. He's the new guy in the office, and his manager sets him up for a dinner at Vision's, and you know, it's like a real dress to impress kind of theme, where he's trying to impress him to get the leg up at the office and whatnot. But the boss of, well, Vision's boss anyway, he presents himself in this really boisterous and kind of overbearing kind of way, in that when they are looking into who Vision is and who Wanda are and where they come from, when they got married, a lot of small details, as they start digging deeper, the office manager begins to choke. And really, that's when we tap into the first couple scenes where we see Wanda, I guess, acting outside of the housewife character, where it didn't dawn on me the first time around, but maybe like the second or third, I noticed that it was like the first sign of Wanda basically just telling him shut the fuck up. She's choking him. She's making him choke on his dinner.
Oh yeah.
And she lets him kind of simmer. She lets him just kind of eat that shit for a while until she finally tells Vision to help him. And or actually, I think Vision helps him at first.
Wanda tells him to help him.
At the first time around?
Yeah, Wanda says help him, Viz.
And so he does. He activates his power. He takes the food out of his throat. What's really haunting about that as well is that while he's choking his wife, Deborah Jo Rupp's character is sitting at the table herself, and she's stuck in like this this loop of like she's laughing and like a really awkward, nervous laugh, but she's like, stop it. Like at first I thought she was telling the husband like to stop, but I think within the first couple times in, she's looking at Wanda, and there's like genuine fear there that you can see that's like tangible, and she's asking her to stop, like to stop hurting her husband. And so Vision helps him out, and then the mood just gets lightened up right back again, and they kind of play it off in the way that a sitcom of that time period would have played off that kind of situation. And he's like, "Oh, Vision, you really impressed me, and we're gonna have a big talk when we get into the office on Monday and whatnot." But that was like the first inkling of the fact that Wanda still has her powers and what's going on and how she's manipulating the space that they're in. The last Easter egg of that episode is the fact that we see, and I didn't, you obviously don't notice it at first because it's the first episode, but you see someone sitting at a desk with the sword notebook taking notes, and the notebook closes, and they're watching on a monitor. And so when we were first watching, I took that as and then with like the addition of like some of the sword symbolism and what the theories were at the time, like the running theories, I thought maybe she was being held in a facility of some kind, or maybe someone got a hold of her, and this is what they were seeing, like they were manufacturing this, and that's what we're seeing. They're taking notes of it, but it ends up turning out that we're seeing are scenes from, I believe, the third or fourth episode.
Four.
Where we
the
have
fourth episode.
Where we have the introduction of Darcy and Jimmy Woo. Jimmy Woo having learned the Scott Lang card trick as well, which is pretty dope. And but so we're seeing that monitor that Darcy is viewing, and what they would ultimately use to watch the ongoing the scenes unfolding in the series of what's going on within Wanda's hex, as we end up finding out. Within episode 2, I'm just now reading this, but I guess the theme being that it's in the 60s, it's taking the likeness of Bewitched. And so I did notice that, but I didn't know that the period had moved on. I didn't know that Bewitched would have already moved on into the I guess you would say the late 50s, early 60s at that point. But one thing I did find out, we're seeing within this episode, Vision and Wanda are entering a talent show that's going on. And I mean, there are some other events that happen, but one of the things that I noticed, so Vision and Wanda take up the stage names of Illusion and Glamour. I ended up finding out that in the Marvel universe there is a married meta human couple named Illusion and Glamour, and they use their they're not meta, they're actual mutants, but they use their powers on stage to gain money. That's how they make their living. They just use their powers, not for fighting crime or anything, but just to get a paycheck. So I think that's pretty cool. They take up like a residency and have some fame to their name. Much like, in comparison, I think Dazzler from X-Men was like an actual, like a pop star. But close to that. One of the first Easter eggs that is mentioned is the cabinet that Vision is using for his talent show act, is that they're doing magic again, and they're using one of the like a classic disappearing chest or cabinet anyway, and the Mind Stone is featured on the actual cabinet. I didn't notice that at first, honestly. I just took it as like it's magic, so it's kind of a magical, whimsy-ish design, but it's in the design of the Mind Stone, which I mean, now looking at it, I'm like, okay, I get that. Also, Vision eats some gum, and it fucks them all up and makes them act a fool. I believe they also mention in this episode, Vision is joining a city council with some of the other secondary characters that are there, and he mentions that there are unsavory characters that are being seen, that are basically there are unsavory characters that are being seen, basically like taking up camp, I guess you would say. I wanted to say taking up refuge, but they're basically making camp outside of town. What didn't strike me at first in hearing him say that, and it wasn't really until yesterday after rewatching up to the current episode, but it was Sword taking up camp outside of Westview, and I really didn't put two and two together. The fact that they even mentioned like that there are unsavory characters taking up camp outside of town, I was like, well, what the fuck? So like how cognizant of what's going on outside of town are these actual other the townsfolk anyway? Like how much do they know at that point? Or, you know, is the control slowly settling on them throughout the show, like from the first episode down? Or, I mean, is it something that just happens like right away? We also see a Technicolor in this. At this point within the show, it becomes Technicolor for the one scene. We see Wanda finds a toy helicopter within the bushes outside of her house, and this is the first time that we see color in the show. But we also see the helicopter has the insignia for Sword as well as Stark Industry written on it as well. And
does it have Stark on it?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch that. I caught the Sword.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the Iron Man colors.
Okay, so it has the Iron Man color scheme. Sorry,
okay.
I read that wrong. But the drone itself that they send in is Stark.
Yeah, that's
Industry,
a Stark.
right?
That's a Stark.
Yeah.
I believe so. But once it gets into the hex, she changes it.
Yeah, so the color scheme itself, by mistake I read that, but the color scheme itself is in the vein of Iron Man's suit, but the drone that is shown being flown into the hex itself is a Stark Industry or Stark Tech anyway. But that one is one of those ones that it sticks out as well because it grabs the attention of the viewer. You're like, well, what the fuck's going on? The second commercial that we see in the series also includes a Strucker watch, which if you've watched from Captain America, you know that Strucker was one of the main antagonists that were in the movie up until Age of Ultron, I believe. I think that was the last time Strucker was there.
Yeah, I believe Age of Ultron is when he showed up. It was the last time we saw him.
But so Strucker is mentioned, and the name Strucker is important because in Wanda's life, because in the MCU, it's the name of the man who experimented on her and her brother. He's the one who engineered them to be metahumans. And so Strucker was first introduced into the movie universe in Winter Soldier in a mid-credits scene. And in the same scene, it's the first time that we see Wanda and Pietro. So yeah, we do see the name Strucker, and we see... I'm not sure if right here if it shows it. I thought I was tripping, but... Yeah, there is a small Hydra insignia that you see on the watch as well.
Oh yeah, that's there.
Yeah. So... And one of the last things that stick out within the show that we end up finding out pretty quick about in the following episode, but they keep having these inklings of weird happenings going on in town, and at the end of the show, Wanda and Vision are seen outside of their home, and we see a beekeeper emerge from the sewer, and obviously, like within watching just episode 2, it strikes you as weird because you don't know what the fuck's going on. You're like, I thought it was like a villain that most people really don't know about. I mean, kind of in the way that they introduced Guardians. It's like no one really knew about him, so I thought maybe they were just going to pull from like obscure characters and introduce them into the storyline. But we end up finding out within the following episode who and what this character is. And then he kind of just falls off the map, and we really don't fucking see him ever again.
I'm pretty sure he just became like one of the townspeople.
Pretty
Sure he just becomes one of the townspeople, just like when she expanded the Hex. Everyone just got incorporated into the town.
As far as Reddit goes, for just WandaVision itself, that was like one of the main questions that people had. It was like, so what the fuck happens to this guy?
More than likely just a throwaway character.
I would also say that you're probably right that he does probably just become incorporated into the universe, because then within episode 3, which is entitled Now in Color, because we're now in color, we end up finding out that one of the agents of SWORD, who ends up being Monica Rambeau, who is the daughter of
let me look that up.
Yeah, but so we end up finding out anyway while Vic looks that up. Where I was getting at is like Vic said, the beekeeper character may have just become incorporated within the show, which in episode 3 what we end up finding out is that we have the introduction of Jimmy Woo and Monica Rambeau. Maria Rambeau. Monica Rambeau is the daughter of Maria Rambeau, who is a supporting character in Captain Marvel. If you haven't seen that, but Maria Rambeau was the pilot character, being the person who I believe started SWORD.
Yeah, she initiated SWORD.
So she was the initiate of SWORD, and Monica Rambeau being almost like inheriting the role. But what we end up seeing in episode 3 is that Monica Rambeau returns after the events of the blip, or of the snap anyway, and she reappears within a hospital that at the time of when the scene is unfolding is in just a fucking shambles, because everybody's being blipped back or snapped back, and we're seeing everybody returning and kind of scrambling. What we end up finding out just through a really well thought out backstory anyway, the way that it's given to us, is Maria Rambeau was diagnosed with cancer at some point and was undergoing cancer treatment. And when they originally arrived at the hospital, Monica Rambeau was with her mother, accompanying her for an appointment, fell asleep at some point, and the snap happened and she disappeared. Maria Rambeau was still undergoing the treatment, and her cancer went into remission, and she ended up succumbing to cancer and passing away. And when Monica returns, she's looking for her mom, and she finds the nurse that was helping her out, or the doctor, I should say anyway. And they say, look, we don't know what's happening, but your mom came in about, I think it's like 3 years prior.
Yeah, I believe 3 years prior she lost her fight to cancer.
And passes away. And so that kind of just is dumped on her. Fast forward to the current timeline within the show, and she is walking into SWORD, and we're seeing that she is like this big name within the branch. And we're also introduced to the secondary antagonist, I would say, Hayward.
Yes, I believe so. To go back real quick to Monica Rambeau, I'll skip ahead actually. In the most current episode, we see that she gets some powers. So yeah, she essentially turns into Captain Marvel.
Yes, that's correct. I had to look into that myself, and
didn't know that. Don't know anything about her.
I guess she is.
But her.
She is a variant of. Well, from what I read anyway, she is considered a variant of Captain Marvel. What I'm wondering is, as far as the way that she attains her power, because I know that she goes by 2 different monikers, one being Photon and one being...
I just had it. She changed it. She Captain Marvel.
Oh, it was Captain Marvel.
Yeah, she was Captain Marvel for a while, and then she gave up the power. She gave up the name to someone in honor of her predecessor. It looks like she goes by a few different names. She's also known as Boom Boom Aaron Stack. Or what the fuck am I reading? Hold on. Never mind. Ignore all that. I don't know what the fuck that was. But yeah, she did give up the name Captain Marvel.
Side note on that, I just watched Captain Marvel for the first time. When we started WandaVision, I was like, well, I think we better watch Captain Marvel because I don't know what's going on. And to my surprise, I mean, it's not a shock. I get that I guess that it's just, I don't know if you would say it's a matter of inclusion, but that they made Marvel a female. I mean, not a big fucking deal, but
No different when they changed the Ancient One.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like integral to the character.
No, it's not.
It's not like when there's discussions of changing. Talking about Magneto.
Oh, okay.
There's discussions of changing him to make it more like, I don't say new age, but like more relevant to like today's society.
Yeah.
To take his to cast him as a black man, which
I wouldn't mind that, bro. I wouldn't mind a Black Magneto.
They would have to change his entire story because his whole premise is that he's a Holocaust survivor, and that's why he's lashing out from mutants being discriminated against.
That's true.
Because he got his powers after the Holocaust, so they'd have. I mean, like there's ways they could write it, but
I mean, I'm
like
thinking,
it's integral that Magneto is a Holocaust survivor. Like that is the driving point of everything he does.
I mean, it's also
so you can't really change him. I don't think
it's one of those things now where, I mean, as far as the movie goes, like I mean, they already changed up the origin story for Pietro and Wanda to fit the movie universe.
I think that was more. I don't know if that's to fit that or to accommodate the fact that they didn't have the rights to the X-Men.
Yeah, I guess that's a better way.
Because they couldn't. Be like, oh yeah, they're fucking mutants. Mutants don't exist yet.
Yeah, I guess it's not like a big issue to rewrite characters in that way. It was more just like a little nagging detail because like I'm very up on like Marvel as Captain Marvel. But it's true, like with the Ancient One, I had no problems with it.
I didn't even know that the Ancient One was supposed to be a guy.
I mean, I always took it as kind of a like an androgynous character anyway. Tilda Swinton is a fucking hitter anyway, so
yeah, she did a phenomenal job.
She's fucking amazing, so I'm like, I don't mind that at all. To circle back, Monica Rambeau, who we do find out as currently that she inherits powers that may or may not be because of a mutant gene.
In WandaVision right now?
Yeah.
So I mean, it looks like she gets the powers from
entering
from Wanda. Yeah, because it changes her molecular structure, just like the clothes she was wearing.
Yeah,
it was like 70-80% Kevlar, but it was just like regular clothes.
But nonetheless, I mean, Monica has now gone in the Hex
3 times. She went in, 2, she left, 3. And she went in again.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's pretty cool that they showed it in that way. To sidebar again, in Kevin Smith's podcast that he does, he's also going over WandaVision, and he mentioned that I guess in I don't know if there are variable forms of Photon's storyline, but I guess Monica Rambeau as Photon, he was mentioning that when they do her X-ray and they're showing that her X-rays aren't coming up the right way, or her blood work or whatever. In his podcast, he mentioned that they mentioned something about light particles, and it has to do with Photon or itself and what the powers are. So I don't know if that's what they were seeing or if that's what it's like a hint at, but that's also it's one of those things again that WandaVision is so like there's so many different ideas that are just stacked on top of each other within the show that you're like, that's a thing. But yeah, we're introduced to Monica Rambeau. We see Jimmy Woo again, and he learns a Scott Lang card trick that I guess you can now look up on YouTube, and they show you how to do it, which I wouldn't mind learning. That's pretty cool. Sleight of hand.
So I'll give out business cards.
Do that. Fuck yeah. And so we see Monica Rambeau enter the Hex. She's introduced as a character named Geraldine, but what I was trying to get at originally is how Vic pointed out that the beekeeper may have just kind of, he may have just become a background character in the series. So Monica Rambeau, what they point out when Jimmy Woo and Darcy when they start their surveillance of the initial broadcast anyway, Monica Rambeau playing this character as Geraldine may have just slipped in herself and kind of just took up this role as well, because she still does have some type of knowledge that like what's going on, how it's differing from what's going on outside the Hex, whereas everybody in the Hex is kind of oblivious to it. They may or may not be oblivious to it as the show is in its early inception, but we end up coming to find out that as the show goes on, or as the episode goes on anyway, Wanda becomes pregnant with twins. And this ends up leading to her powers almost having like a surge where her kids are controlling a lot of what's going on. What I took it as, and what I guess other what other viewers have noticed and what they're kind of taking notes on online, but I guess it's all kind of hearsay because it's matter of opinion. But they were saying that to take note of Agnes, she says like kids, you can't control them no matter how hard you try, and to dip back into when Wanda is pregnant in the show. They're saying like a lot of the happenings going on are because of the kids, like what's happening within her is coming out, and the kids themselves are manipulating what's going on. But Wanda eventually ends up having her kids. When she does have them, Monica is revealed as, you know, someone who is from outside of the Hex, and is then yeeted out of the Hex by Wanda, and what Wanda basically snaps out of her character as this like happy-go-lucky, like this wife character that she's playing, and snaps out of it real quick to basically get rid of Monica. And she's, you know, like, hey, you're a stranger here, you're an outsider, and you need to leave. And she ends up yeeting her out of the Hex, out of her world anyway. But then just like that, it leads back into Wanda is manipulating what's going on within the timeline of the show. We also have our next Easter egg commercial, which is the Hydra Soak. And from what it says here, we have 2 recurring references via Easter eggs this week. And what's that?
It's from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The Hydra Soak is?
Yeah. There's Coulson gets, one of the times when I think he gets kidnapped like 3 or 4 times. I don't know. He says that they used a weird soap to like brainwash him. And it was just like a real throwaway line. And then they referenced the...
no way.
Yeah, they referenced it in WandaVision. It's not anything like super deep. It's just a cool little...
Oh, that's tight. See, I looked like way too into it. I looked into it as like that, the matter of fact being like that she was manipulated by Hydra or whatever at one point.
I think that they were trying to like lead us on to that she might not be in control of what's happening. Yeah. Which I don't think she is anymore.
At this point, no.
I think she lost control a little while ago. But yeah, I think they were trying to just like slip in the fact as, oh, maybe Hydra's the one doing all this to her.
Like to kind
of... Because we did already have that in the second episode when Jimmy Woo came on the radio. And he started asking Wanda, who's doing this to you? So they were trying to, I think, at least for a little bit, show that Wanda might not be in control of what was happening. Yeah. And that she was the victim. I guess she still is. I'm not sure on how that all goes.
Like how it lines up?
Yeah, well, she obviously created the Hex and everything, but, like, it's from trauma. Yeah. So it's not like she's, like, actively trying to hurt people. And then Agnes kind of shows up and, like, adds to it. So that she's going to be the villain. But at the same time, like, in the greater MCU picture, no matter however this plays out, Wanda's going to be seen as a bad person. Yeah. Because she has taken 45 kilometers of New Jersey to herself. Yeah. Because I think when she expanded the Hex, she expanded it like 25 kilometers.
So then also one of the things mentioned as well, we do have the first mention of Pietro as far as someone within Wanda's life goes. And we also get a mention of Ultron. Monica at one point, I think after the initial birth of Wanda's twins, you know, happens to kind of drop it on her, like, hey, you fought Ultron and your brother died because Ultron killed him. And we also notice the tie-in of Sword with Monica Rambeau being the pendant that she's wearing. And that ends up being like the climax to this being the fourth episode?
That should be the third, because the fourth is we interrupt this program. So yeah, it was the end of the third episode. The fourth is when they do the big reveal on Sword and everything's going on outside of the Hex. Yeah.
And so that's when the show, I think, really started to pick up in itself anyway, just within the third act of that episode.
So when Monica brings up Pietro, that's the first time we've talked about him since Age of Ultron.
Since Age of Ultron, yeah.
Yeah, we got the little Easter egg of Clint naming his kid after him. Gives his son the middle name Pietro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's just they're like FaceTiming, and they just like scan over the kid real quick, and he's wearing a shirt with his name on it.
Yeah.
And I forget what the kid's first name was, but it's Pietro. But other than that, yeah, no one's mentioned him. No one said it's just a forgotten character. And then Monica said something, and then 2 episodes later,
we end up getting Pietro.
We get a new Pietro.
A variation or a brand new Pietro introduced to the universe. So I'm just finding out right now, reading this, there is an Easter egg in episode 4 where Maria Rambeau, there is a plaque of her that is seen on a wall, and Maria Rambeau goes by the moniker Photon. Monica Rambeau becomes Photon, or like Vic was saying, Captain Marvel, and then ends up changing her name to Photon at some point.
I found the list of all the names she goes by. It's quite a bit. Auntie Monica, Avengers Mom, Captain Marvel, Daystar, the Lady of Light. That's pretty tight.
That's pretty cool.
Photon, Pulsar, and Sun Goddess. Those are the alias she's had.
I'm also reading here too, which it's not, I mean, it's mentioned in the show, but I'm reading it now. And Sword, from listening to other material and just doing the math right now because I'm a fucking Neanderthal. Sword in the show is the abbreviation for Sentient World Observation and Response Department. And or that's what it is in the comics, and in the show it's changed to Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Department. And I'm wondering if, well, obviously it's being sentient. In this case, I'm wondering if the focus is mainly because of Vision, if that's why they're operating at like such a high capacity in the show. Because I kind of tied it in with the fact that at one point we do get the when we have Darcy doing some of the snooping into like the files that Hayward has, and when she finds the file that's entitled what is it, Project Cataracts or Operation Cataract?
Something, I believe, something like that.
I took that as a tie-in to the comics where Vision is rebuilt as a White Vision, and he's absent of I guess basically like the human functionalities of what he's supposed to be, and he's just synthezoid, and he's like blank of personality and feeling and whatnot. We also get a talk between Hayward and Monica Rambeau in that they do mention Carol Danvers, and there's also the discussion that's brought up that during the events of Endgame, I guess you would consider it more of like an internet question or like a Marvel Universe kind of question for fans, but who is stronger, Scarlet Witch or Captain Marvel? And they were saying that they kind of like subtly dropped the fact that Wanda could have killed Thanos by herself.
Well, Kevin Feige, he came out and said that she was gonna kill him,
like during
the big battle in Endgame. But if you even look back at Infinity War, she was holding off Thanos with 4 stones while also destroying another. Although her feats are far and few between, the ones she does have stand out quite a bit.
Well, I also kind of took it in Infinity War when she's when they're fighting in Wakanda, and they're like, oh, like, where were you hiding her? Because she's just,
Yeah, she was protecting Vision. The whole plan was to try to get her away from him, because if she was with Vision, they knew they couldn't get to it. The plan wouldn't work.
Like, as far as source material goes, Wanda is an Omega level mutant, as far as like alongside like Phoenix as Phoenix. I don't know if it's Phoenix in the or Jean Grey in the Phoenix form or just Jean Grey herself, but Wanda is a oh fuck, I forgot what they call them, like god tier or tier 5 mutants or whatever. But it's like the power scaling that they have, and Wanda's up there as well as her son Wiccan.
So it's Omega and then Beyond Omega.
Oh, I didn't know that there was a Beyond Omega.
Yeah,
I thought Omega was the.
It's
oh well, yeah, it's like that's the god tier.
SD and beta class, beta level, alpha class, alpha level, telepath, Omega level, mutant Omega level, Beyond Omega, and then Beyond Omega, like, and then it breaks it down into like tiers: telekinesis, healers.
But yeah, I know she's. I mean, her power scaling within the comics is ridiculous, as well as, I mean, in the source material of House of M, where she creates just a alternate reality to get the Westview-esque kind of world that they live in. Apparently, the fact that New Jersey is mentioned within the current timeline of WandaVision, it's a hint that, I guess, Kamala Khan, who is a character that goes by the name of Miss Marvel, who is like a newer character that's being introduced into the MCU. New Jersey plays an important role in the timeline because Kamala Khan is from New Jersey. I don't know if they're going to introduce her as... I mean, I don't know her background. She's like a fairly new character. I don't know if they're going to use her as a mutant or a metahuman, or if somehow the Hex ties into the fact that they're in New Jersey and maybe the Hex travels, like the radius that it covers somehow imprints on her. I don't know. But within the episode, we also see the introduction of Darcy Lewis again, who was first featured in Thor 1.
Yeah.
Right?
In the original.
She's
the
a Thor
first
character?
Yeah, she's from Thor.
And she is the... I guess she's the computer person. But she is the one who initially kind of sees what's going on as far as like the broadcast of the show, and starts communicating, making the reports of what's happening. And I mean, to circle back around, we see Darcy watching the show in the post-credit scene of episode 1 of WandaVision. And then also we have a little background on the beekeeper, who is ultimately just an agent of SWORD, who they dig like an El Chapo type tunnel into Westview. And the beekeeper is just an agent who's going in a hazmat suit. And when the threshold of the Hex is so deep that it goes into the ground, and in the scene where it introduces this character, he breaches the seal, the entrance of the Hex, and ends up becoming black and white. And that's when we see him, pop up from the sewer. And, he changes to what's relevant to Wanda, I guess, is how they break it down. So he's like a beekeeper as opposed to a hazmat suit.
Yeah, he just has to change to be relevant to the timeline that she's portraying
and then
at that time.
That's why the rope turns into like a kid's jump rope as opposed to like probably a paracord or something.
Yeah, it's just a tether to try to pull him back. And
apparently there's a Skrull shout out within the episode as well.
Well, with SWORD there would have to be. That's probably the big reveal.
Is Skrulls?
I wouldn't doubt it.
So
SWORD. I mean, you have to have SWORD to do secret invasions.
So one of the going theories, as far as like the internet sleuth community for fucking WandaVision, is that the aerospace engineer that is mentioned in episode 6.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
Monica Rambeau's guy that she talks about is one of the is a Skrull. But she clearly says that it's a guy, and Talos and other Talos, their kids are it's a girl, or were there two? I don't remember. Dude. I just saw the movie and I don't remember.
I've only watched Captain Marvel once.
It's only so fresh to me, and it's I watched it. Friday or Saturday, no, Thursday maybe. I don't know. It's literally been a whole week, a whole 2 weeks of just Marvel. But apparently the scroll note that is made in the show, it's a brief shot of Jimmy Woo's whiteboard where he and the response team track the knowns and unknowns of Westview's anomaly. It reveals that one idea for who might be behind this is the scrolls, and I guess it's like highlighted there. Oh yeah, it sure is. And I mean the scrolls again being mentioned in, or being the somewhat of antagonists in Captain Marvel. Not really antagonists, it's actually Kree that are the antagonists.
They're not yet the bad guys.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, what's going to be the big flip then? Because as of Far From Home, Fury is with Skrulls. So I'm wondering what's going to happen there.
Well, I'm sure they had plans of invasion anyways. It's just it's easier to be friends with and then be like, oh hey, let's go do this thing,
and then turn on them. And so I guess that's like the subtle nod to the Skrulls within the show. And it's also just one of these things that because Secret Invasion was announced. Yeah, it just notes that there's an upcoming Secret Invasion announcement for Marvel on as a Disney Plus show.
Oh, okay.
Which I won't mind, honestly, if like WandaVision's already like really well done. Falcon and the Winter Soldier already seems like it's going to be just a long Captain America movie. Like especially with rewatching a lot of those movies, the Captain America series is probably next to Guardians and like Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man obviously being under like the Fox umbrella or the Sony umbrella.
Yeah, Sony.
But Spider-Man and then like Guardians and Captain America are like really well done as far as within the series go. Excluding like the Avengers movies, like 1 and Age of Ultron, whereas they're like an amalgamation of everything, and then like Infinity War and Endgame. But as far as like the movies that are sequential within the series, I would say that those three are like the most well done.
Thank you for tuning in this evening. Let's jump right in.
Hey there guys, how's it going? This is the Elder Dadless. Real quick, I want to go ahead and cap off the ending of the episode just so that there's no confusion as to why we kind of just end in the middle of a conversation, or right at the beginning of a conversation, I should say. Originally, the WandaVision recap that Vic and I did, we recapped episodes 1 through 7, and originally the episode ran about a little over 2 hours, I would say. Due to some technical issues that we've faced in the past, notably with the anime episode, which the same thing, had to be cut into 2 parts. The WandaVision recap is now being cut into 2 parts. So that's why there is a cut right at the beginning of our conversation, as far as when we start touching on the recovery of Vision's body. And I think we touch on White Vision a little bit as well. But again, that's just to clear up any confusion as far as the episode. I felt it'd be a disservice if I wasn't able to upload it, and I didn't want to not upload it. All silliness aside, the WandaVision recap was it was a lot of fun. And so part 1, we basically touch on episodes 1 through 6. And I believe at the ending of part 1 is when we start getting to episode 7. And then that's where part 2 will pick up. That being said, I hope you enjoy the episode. Although it had to be cut into 2 parts, which I didn't want to do. But I mean, for the sake of uploading it and for, having it there so that it's not like unavailable, I, had to do what I had to do. That being said, again, thank you guys so much. I just wanted to go ahead and clear up any questions about the ending of the episode. Monday, the 31st, part 2 will come out. We will pick up again, where we left off. It's the same thing, WandaVision recap. Spoiler alert, Wanda is, she's a Scarlet Witch. I know it's like quite a bit after the series ended, but we will see you guys soon.
Who are you, really?
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Come for me, Gmork! I am a traitor!
You are beaten. It is useless to resist. Don't let yourself be destroyed.
Offer me everything I ask for. anything you want.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch. I am your father.
That's my son! This is my boy! My boy!
That's impossible!
You're laughing. Someone was killed today because of what you did.
I know. How about another joke, Murray?
You son of a...
Fuck you.
Honey, you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
You're locked in here with me!
You steal my daughter, war. I understand your pain.
Actually, when we're all tickled to hear you say that.
You shall have your revenge.
Iron Man.
Good night. And always remember, that's